Is there on the other aspect of it, when you feel that self-doubt, when you finally get that edit and you look at that shot and it flows perfect along with your camera work and everything aligns to
Yes.
just create the necessary shot,
Uh,
I get so hyped. I have
oh
never felt so motivated and so overpowered to get that thing done.
yeah. Everyone, this is the Out of the Box podcast where we talk about out of the box ideas. Jose wasn't able to make it today because he was a little busy with something else. But we have a special guest today for our podcast, Emilio Rivas. He is my friend from St. Mary's University. And back in our day when we went there, we worked together on different film projects and stuff like that. We kind of helped each other out on, I helped Emilio with his sometimes, and then he helped me with my projects sometimes. And so we kind of go way back in that sense. And so I'll kind of toss it on over to you, Emilio, and your credentials and all that stuff and experience. And
Okay, cool. Hey, thank you for having me on the podcast. First and foremost, I am Emilio Rivas, aka Eager. Find me on Eager Edits through YouTube, Instagram, and also our YouTube channel, Broken Home Artists. I'm gonna just talk about some video editing chips, tricks, things in that manner. And that's the subject that we're gonna be talking about, right, Still?
right, exactly. We're gonna see where it leads and kind of go from there, you know. So, what were you thinking about starting, like, in terms of this conversation?
Uh, Time is biggest thing. I think it goes down to anything. That's where I want to start at, and I got plenty to say on it.
Yeah, definitely, man. I agree.
Uh, to premise what we're talking about, I would like to talk about video editing, video production in general. So video talk is like a skill set, but that kind of skill set is really hard to um delve into to communicate if you haven't gone into that skill set. So to kind of like bring that in together, the subject time and that aspect would be really, really easy to get in that depth. So the first thing, my main topic is to value your time and don't waste it.
Yeah.
Uh so like I've gotten to let's say this stage in my editing process where I am in workflow debt, where you have projects that you've created and work that you have listed down. But although the workload has accumulated with the demands, and thus you're spending more time than you anticipated in the project, and
Mm.
it really can get expensive. So when I've pitched this much money for this specific project, I was paid that money, but now that it's taking more time, I'm losing out money and the time I could have used on other editing projects. So I didn't value myself more that way. So thoughts on that still?
Yeah, so I guess what you're saying, right? It can get overwhelming. You're taking on a lot of projects at once. Maybe not realizing how many. Like, 'cause sometimes in life we can do that. We can find ourselves in situations where we're like, man, I thought I had time to get all this done, but it's really adding up, and start losing track of time, feeling overwhelmed. And I think I've been there a few times myself, to where like there's just so much going on in life at once that it's hard to like, you feel like you can't catch up. You feel like it's almost impossible to get everything done in one day, you know?
Oh, that's kind of cool. Like you have that similar experience. Sometimes it could be taxing mentally
Mm.
because I could be in a, let's say, a state of flow where projects are getting knocked out and I've gotten so much done compared to what I would have a week ago or months ago. But the feeling that I'm still overwhelmed and behind stays. And if anything, it's like you beat yourself up more the fact that you did a really good job. And I'm like, well, why can't I be like that 100% all the time?
Right, right. What do you think plays into that? I mean, the times when it's hard to, I guess, get things done at that same, I guess, energy level or
So okay, my perspective is like video game terms. So it's I kind of talk about this in mana pool,
but
like magic MP. Basically, like in an RPG, you talk about meters. You got your health meter, you got your MP, which is magic points.
oh yeah,
Uh, so in my sense, if you're gonna be video editing, you can't be video editing 100% because that takes up a lot of magic, or that takes up a lot of your mental tax.
X
So like you can't expect yourself to be 100% all the time.
yeah,
Otherwise, that burnout section would happen. Hence, HB goes all the way down.
yeah. You got to recharge. Mm,
So that aspect, you got okay. So to help the audience, if you're doing a project and you're doing a project that requires a lot of mental strain, don't try to do it all at once. Otherwise, when you try to come back to it the next time, you train your body to understand that this is a really hard task and it's going to take this much time to get it done. So instead, you take little small spurts at the project, break it down into forms, come back to it, and then you can knock it down as equally as the last time.
yeah, I kind of think it plays into motivation to break it down into the smaller sections. It's less overwhelming, you know, if you're gonna be like, I'm gonna spend the next 3 hours editing this compared to like I'm gonna spend maybe 30 minutes editing this and then working on something else or something like that. It's a little bit less intimidating.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
Definitely.
I kind of have a formula for it.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, this is Emilio's editing process.
Nice.
So to help with the motivation and also with time, I break down my projects into 5 sections. Uh, there's and to get into it, basically I'm going into the medium production where the actual or no, I'm sorry, post production because we got 3 sections whenever it actually comes to producing something. You got your production, post production, and then your actual production. But
Mm.
this is the realm of post. So you got your video created, you got it shot, you're ready to sit on the computer, you're about to edit. First of the 5 projects, you get all the project files and you organize them and you name them. That takes at least like a good 30 minutes.
Yeah.
That so I break that section. Section number 2 is throw everything on the timeline. Have the storyboard ready. That comes into pre. So then you get all that storyboard down. That's section number 2. Section number 3 is to get all your visual cues onto order. Anything that you know that you have to put into that timeline, just have it there in raw, and then you can scrub it out later. Number 4 is going to be graphics. Anything that you got to throw on top of the video, and then you got to put it all together in a certain aspect. 5, polish and cut, splice, trim, cross dissolve, fun stuff.
Exactly.
But yeah, man, and all those 5 things should not be done in one day or one hour.
I don't think that's possible. I mean, well, it depends on. Well, actually, I'll take that back because
I've
yeah,
done it all one day too. So
I've done it in one day, but not for full length films. Definitely, there's no way I could get a full length film done in one day. That's not even possible. But I have done it for smaller projects, you know, like short films, those short little dream video things that I put on my channel. And then I do
this
it
is so
for
beautiful.
paid side work that I've done. Like I filmed this party one time that someone asked me to film and pay me for, and it was like probably a 20-minute total runtime, and I was able to trim it down. And I kind of just worked on it for like a couple hours, and like everything, the rough cut, the color grading, the sound editing, you know, because if it's a smaller, if it's only gonna be like a 5-minute video or like 10-minute video, then usually I can knock it out in about a day. But if it's a big project, I mean, ooh, that's the
It's a lot, yeah. Uh, um, so yeah, like you said, like if it's small projects, it's definitely a lot easier to get that down. And even then, this should still be broken down to small time frames. Let's just say, like, all right, this is where the pre-planning comes in. Anticipate when you got a project and how long it takes to get it done. And I learned this through editing, writing at our university, me and Steele's St. Mary's, kind of like schooling, because they give you so much time to write this essay, and then you wait to the last minute and procrastinate.
Yeah,
that's when you go all the way down. You're just using every resource possible to get that project done.
yeah, desperation.
Yeah, man. And you make some irrational decision to put yourself in a spot where you don't want to do it again, and that's where burnout happens.
You
Uh,
experienced that with like the video work before, or
oh yeah, no, definitely it's that same process. There'd
yeah,
be times, period of times where I remember getting away from video editing in general, and I go on like a hiatus.
oh
Then
yeah,
I'll come back maybe like 2 months, 3 months from there, and then like, all right, I'm ready to tackle it again.
yeah. I know what you mean. I kind of do that. Like I'll wax and wane. Like I went through like an oil painting phase like a year ago. Can't remember, but I went through like a phase of just doing oil painting, not really filming much. Just filming little short things. But I'll kind of do that too. Like I'll just take a break from filming for a while and just explore some other art form. And I'm anticipating doing that after I finish this horror movie that I'm working on because. And I'm actually thinking about going more into short films after that because they're faster. I can get more experience faster, more variety. Um, but yeah, definitely. I mean, I like what you said before though. Like a lot goes into it, and I feel like general audiences, lay people, they're not aware of how much hard work and how much time it takes to make the films that they're viewing, on the computer or on the TV or whatever, right? I mean, it,
Yeah,
yeah.
it's the magic behind it, man. There's so much that goes into it, man.
Yeah, like you think it's easy, but you think it would be easy, but mm, it's challenging.
So and okay, so I was gonna go back to the first topic, but before I even say that first topic, I just want to go back in what you were saying before. You got into the phase where you're doing something else, but which I think is cool. I was any type of painting. So when you're on that canvas, that's really cool, man.
Yeah.
When you finish this project and you took a long time making this project, it's almost like a cool down period,
Mhm.
right? You gotta want to not want to look at it,
Yeah.
or maybe you're proud that it's created and people can view it, but that moment that you get to the finish line, you're just posting and uploading. That I could tell you like that. But for me personally, I'm drained and
Yes.
I can't really like function. If I look at my camera, I'm almost like physically have electricity putting in my hands to be away from it.
Yeah. It's like, oh man, I can't look at this. No, I
Yeah.
definitely relate to what you're saying about like after I finish a long project like that, especially a full-length film, you're probably on like the 100th time of watching it by that point because you've been editing it for like months, right? And so by that point you're tired of seeing it. You need to take a break. Like I have to take a break from it too. Like I can't watch it again for a while, and then sometime, and then like maybe a year later or months later, I'll revisit it, and be like, oh okay, and I'll see it with fresh eyes, if that makes sense.
Oh, it does.
Yeah.
It relates to the what we were talking about in that first topic. Value your time, because you're talking about your video project, I know it's coming out of your resource, but I really do believe that that's gonna be a gig or a job you're gonna pick up on later,
Mm.
and this experience that you have that you're getting on your own time is really nice because then when someone's gonna pay you for a project, that is someone else's time that you're using to get it done. That's like a twice as amount of pressure.
Yes,
Uh
it is more pressure.
yeah, man. So when you're talking about that, valuing your time, that's one aspect. Small projects. Small projects mean that you can make mistakes, you can experiment easier, and you can get a lot of other type of shots that you would otherwise not have time for. Because
Mm.
in longer projects, you're spending more time in post trying to assemble it all together.
Right. And so that's something I guess like to think about whenever choosing projects. When someone comes to you, request a project from you or personal projects that you're working on, to kind of, I guess, have a rough idea like how long is this going to take? Can I really fit this into my schedule right now? And that sort of stuff. Yeah.
Yeah. And money. Okay, and I'm not saying everything's about money, but when you really do have to put decisions together and what you have to anticipate, there's expenses and bills, and there's equipment that you're gonna have to accumulate along the ride of you becoming where you wanted to go.
I understand.
So It's you really have to factor that stuff in. So value your time and not wasting it comes to those projects, talking to people. So the work that flow. I got myself here because I undercharged, thinking, this is a little too expensive for the person, and I don't want to do them dirty by giving them a big price. But no, it's the truth and reality is you can give them an invoice. An invoice is basically like a bigger price point, but you can give them in a certain amount of time to pay off.
Yeah.
Uh, and I could talk about the different specific examples of it, but it all leads to the same thing. If you ever find yourself in a point where you're doing too much work for less amount of pay, that's when you got to put in the mindset, all right, I got to charge higher. That just automatically means I got to go maybe $10 higher or $20 higher than my pay rate per hour, because you are skilled enough to know and understand that you got to perform this much amount of work.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think that takes, I think it takes several factors, building up a reputation for yourself, the skill sets, the experience, how professional you can make the end product. Because I found myself in situations like that, recently even, to where I'm like thinking in my mind, like, okay, I really gotta think about this, and because they'll ask me like, what, how much they're gonna charge, and I'm like, okay, what if they want modifications, like I go through the edit process, but then they want me to change some things. I gotta consider, do I want to charge extra for that? Because that does take another hour or so, depending on how many modifications they want. And then you have to just kind of put all that together. So what I kind of started doing is like a base price. And since I'm first starting out, it's a pretty on the low end because I kind of did some research. People usually charge about 45 to like 75 an hour for video editing and stuff. But for me, I'm kind of starting with 25, just straight up. And then as like a base, and then I break it down into like the film shoot itself, 25, and then 25 for the edit, and then maybe like 20 extra for each like each additional hour for editing or something like that. And that's kind of the process I started doing. But to be honest with you, I'm still figuring it out. I don't know, you know what I mean? Like I'm kind of feeling my way through it.
Oh,
But
we all are, man, and that comes from a place of humbleness, which speaks about your character, which I do enjoy. Because even the higher ups, man, they're still constantly trying to like
yeah,
revamp their invoice, or revamp their contract,
yeah,
revamp it never ends. There's always room for learning.
yeah.
That's the beauty, I think, about where editing comes in place.
This art
Y-
form.
Yeah, man. So no matter what, you're always going to be in a constant state of learning. There's never a time where, oh, I'm going to know everything and that's going to be it.
Yeah, you know what? That's probably what drives, and maybe it drives you too, like towards filmmaking. Like, because to me, filmmaking is the ultimate art form. It's the one thing in my life that I feel like I'm always learning something new. And, I think, okay, it's gonna be like the last project I did, but no, every single time I make a new movie, it's a different experience and it's a new learning experience too. Because, you try,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah,
Ah, dude.
yeah,
That could be the topic too.
it could be
Um, the motivation and drive.
definitely. Yeah.
To premise, what I believe in the aspects of video editing, drive comes from the initial motive of why you started. What is the overall goal? And both you and I have English communications, or
Right,
communications majors.
right.
So, I, in my end, my motive to start video editing was to be a better communicator. And from like the very base, as a kid, had trouble speaking. Came from background, people were making fun of me because I wasn't able to communicate better or talk better or just explain myself. So I started building up foundations and groundwork to get myself to the level where I'm at now. Basically, I just had the motivation to say I want to know how to speak, or how to know how to do something so I can relay my message to somebody.
Yeah,
That is my biggest motivator.
it's pretty powerful. That's an internal, like an internal motivation right there. Because extrinsic motivation is money and like rewards, but yours seems to be more personal, like a internal motivation kind of thing.
Yeah, 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 man. And it feels rewarding because I can get money here, I can get money doing something else,
Yeah.
but the actual reward is that feeling. And I know it sounds cliche, but it really you until you feel it
Mm.
and you get this long term goal accomplished and you're actually seeing the fruits of your labor being produced to you, and it feels a lot better. And basically I feel those rewards through the opportunities that I've given um actually just this year, man.
Right.
But I don't want to tangent off the other topics.
Right. Right.
Uh the motivating factor, I explained your internal, which is the first aspects of motivation, but the second aspect of motivation is your suspense. Now there's different words for what I'm gonna say. There's fear, there's the pressure, there's anxiety, but it all stems from this feeling where, okay, I made this decision to do this action, which is video or an editing in the sense.
Mm.
Well, what is the fear or what's the worst possible outcome that's going to happen? And I don't want that to happen. Hence, I'm delayed on this project. I lose my camera. I break my computer, or I make someone disappointed in the product I gave them.
Mm.
That's another fear of getting this done.
Definitely.
The Yeah, and that's what I think. Like, okay, that drives me to get the video edit done. Having a deadline like amplifies that too,
Uh,
which, yeah, it could be a negative, it could be a positive, but
yeah,
depending on personality.
it's true. Yeah, depending on how it affects you and how you let it stress you out, or whether I guess how much you believe in yourself too, like experience and all that. In terms of like the deadline, meeting the deadline, or disappointing a client, like that can be almost sometimes like if you run late for a deadline, or if the client is disappointed in what you did, sometimes it can be like a heavy blow for some people, and then you have to like kind of find a way to overcome that and remind yourself that it was a minor setback or something, I guess.
Yeah, that's great. And the third part, and motivation, your motive, it ties back to number one, the big why, your big internal. The third point is outcome. What do you visualize in yourself? What do you see yourself in your future doing? That could be a business you created in video editing or what have you. That could be the project that you completed and uploaded on let's just say YouTube or on this specific portfolio. Or it could just be the skill set that you work towards and now that you're doing. But for me, it was my communication, my first motive. My outcome was I wanted to give myself the reality that I can actually perform a sentence without stumbling on it
Mhm.
like I used to in the past. And I finally was able to get out of that.
And it seems like I guess communication, like going into that specific field of practice has helped. I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's a constant state of practice. It's a skill set that I'm working on consistently. And for me personally, I put forth more effort in trying to communicate than let's say the average person, hence why I feel so fulfilled in this field.
It makes sense. It ties pretty closely with what you're trying to do for your personal improvement, I guess you could say.
Yeah, yeah, man. And that's really what it comes down to, like why I'm where I'm at. Video editing videos, it really helps. Um, so okay, I wanted to bring in to something else. A question to you because I have I guess a small story to lead up to this.
Yeah.
In your degree or in the university, do you feel like you spent time doing something and you left it behind because it was really more of a negative towards you?
Okay, yeah, it's kind of like I guess starting a project and then finding that it wasn't beneficial for you, and so you kind of stopped or something like that. Or
Perfect. Oh yeah, exactly.
yeah, let me think actually.
And if I don't want to disrupt you, man.
No, I'm trying to think. What were you
And
gonna
oh yeah, and yeah, man. So to go into mine as far as an example, it's writing. English. I started my major in university as an English major, and the same motivation to communicate better. I wanted to study English so I can write and form essays, form arguments. But my whole journey in college was trying to brute force my way in English, and it just I kind of had a thought in my head. It's like this is way too hard, and I'm not feeling fulfilled after writing these essays. And I just found something else. Halfway through university, I was in sophomore year. I did not think about editing or video in general.
Oh,
Like
really?
that was out of my picture, man. Yeah, I did not even think about it.
Wow, yeah.
So it was a just for do a little plug in. You may know this person. I don't know if we name drop, but the specific mentor that was in the communications department,
Oh, yeah.
the academic media center, and the head of that
Oh,
department.
yes. Yes, I know what you're talking about.
They that person was my mentor and saw that I was struggling in writing and had a conversation with me. And she basically said, "Why don't you try video? It makes sense that you want to show something. You can physically show it through camera." And
Mhm.
she gave me an opportunity. It's like, well, we have this film thing. You want to help this lady out, which is the assistant in the academic media center filmed this project, and I was like, oh, I got nothing else to do. Yeah, let's do it. And that was the spark to my video editing journey.
Yeah, that was like the first thing that like just got you into that passion, I guess you could say.
Yeah,
It's really
yeah,
cool.
man. There's a period where I felt lost. Um, I was sophomore year, 5 classes, so 15 or what was it, 18 hours or something like that? No, 15. 15 hours of just nonstop editing, nonstop writing. I turned in 5 papers, didn't feel happy about them. I got good grades on them, but like just every single time I turned in that assignment, it went out of my head. And it's like, why am I even doing this?
Yeah, well, yeah, if you're not getting excited by it, you're not feeling fulfilled. You're right. It makes sense. And so then
Yeah.
I guess with the video editing, that made you feel more of that reward or fulfilled or something like that.
And so it really hit me, man. I had to think about it because I was in my own headspace where it's like, dude, do I really want to improve myself? Because I was putting my worth in writing and my values. Like if I can't learn to communicate, then why did I even go to college? And now I went that route. And I was like, dang, man, I gotta find something else.
Yeah, that's intense.
Yeah. And so and don't get me wrong, I still write. I still have books and I'm generating like a story. But see, I put it in a secondary aspect of it because I don't want to let go of that skill. And maybe that's probably like a subject to tackle later on. But I didn't want to give up writing per se because I still get that feeling of reward. But it couldn't be my overall, this is what I have to do to earn a living kind of thing.
Right,
It was not gonna happen, man. So that was one of those things I kind of gave up. I let go of writing as my major and just went straight in communications.
right. And communications offers a variety of different careers too, so it's a good one to have.
Oh, dude, it's universal. It's so universal. I think we can go have a whole like conversation about the
Oh yeah.
amazing things communications do for you.
Oh, we could, yeah, we could.
I to circle it back to you, man. I wanted to hear your input about that thing, that negative thing you had to let go.
Oh, okay, yeah. So now that I kind of got an example, the negative thing I had to let go. I think really when I think back about my struggles, actually, you know what? I do have a similar thing. Because I was a biology major. I don't know if you knew that, but at St. Mary's,
No, I didn't know that.
yeah, and it's not like it was a negative thing, but like I was a biology major for at least a year, you know? And so similar to what happened to you, I didn't change it halfway, but I changed it after a year of being a biology major because I was always planning on going to medical school. It's a very practical job to get, and I've always had an interest in science and the human body since I was 3 years old. I saw like a picture of the digestive system in this medical dictionary and asked my mom questions about it, and then that's when my passion for that started. And so I just always loved science and medical stuff, and so I always saw myself going into that career. And I was doing pretty okay, as a bio major. The first semester, I was maintaining A's and B's, and then the second semester biology got a little bit more challenging, much more challenging, I would say. And a lot of just different things pointed to like in that part of my life to rethink what I was doing in my path. And I started really thinking, filmmaking is what I love. And my advisors tell me things like, you got to be prepared to retake classes in the summer or do research in the summer. And my mind was thinking, well, that's when I do my movies. If I can't make movies, now or during the summer, when can I make them? And then I started thinking more about how busy I would be if I became a doctor. Like, would I even have time to do filmmaking anymore or write or anything? And I started thinking, I'm gonna have to give all this.
Whoa, that's a big intense thought, man.
Yeah, so you know what I mean? That's kind of what your example made me think about because that's when I made the decision to switch to the communication studies degree, and I just added psychology for fun. I had no idea what's going to lead to me being a counselor associate later on, but yeah, that was a huge change, I think, a turning point where I was like, filmmaking is so important that I cannot sacrifice it for anything. So I decided, because like you said,
You
it's universal. You can get jobs out of it, with that degree. So
yeah, yeah. Man, and I'm glad you chose passion over career. I think that's cool. But you know what? Not to knock anybody's decision. Your
right,
decision is your own, and you feel is important. You go for it. And I think on your route, that's really cool. That's a journey I think is so relatable on all across the boards
right,
because anyone's gonna have to struggle through that. It's passion versus career.
yeah,
What's gonna be your route? What's gonna be the road you choose? And that's where, the whole big thing comes into. What's that suspense, the fear? Are you afraid of you're not gonna make it financially if you go through your passion?
mm,
Or is the career path something where you're so afraid of choosing that you're gonna have to give up the thing you truly love?
exactly.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's hardcore, man.
yeah, it's challenging, and it is risky. I'm not going to say it's not risky, but if you strategize, I think that's the important thing. If you strategize and have a plan, a backup plan, I think you can still make it work. Because like my mindset was like, look, because my mom did a lot of research at the time to make sure I was making the right choice. I always like to get second opinions and stuff, and then
Good.
found out that communication studies degree does offer a wide variety of jobs, and you can get pretty good jobs in it, like not just in like one thing, but multiple different areas. And so I was like, okay, actually that would be a good degree and I could still do my filmmaking and writing, and it would leave me time for that and leave me more options than a different degree would. And then I was like, okay, that's a good backup. And then so I was like, okay, use my psychology minor to get a master's degree in counseling psychology, and then I can become a counselor. So I was like, that's a second job opportunity. So I'm like, okay, now I have two degrees that I can go in two different paths of careers. So I'm like, that's what I mean by strategizing and like kind of, because you can still follow your passion, but finding creative ways to also make it practical or some type of financial backup, I guess, is what I'm getting at.
Yeah, and then you chose to go that route, and you went about it the way you wanted, not a way that someone told you to do it, or of mold that you had to fit into just to make it through. And as far as not wasting that time.
Right.
Yeah, hey, you know what? That's kind of cool. And I have a different route that I chose as far as to what career path I went into, but that's cool. I
Yeah.
would call this a topic number three.
Yeah. Tell me about it.
This what I'm thinking. Okay, so what we're explaining right now is that process. What do I have to do to do what I want to do? So I went a non-traditional route. I didn't want to work in a company per se kind of thing. I wanted to go in the aspect of freelance.
Right.
I wanted to when I decided to do video stuff, I was really good at it, and I was like, man, I'm making videos like crazy. even the production assistant at the academic media center said, If you're in class and I was teaching this class, I would have just given you an A."
Oh, that's cool.
And she asked me if I was like video creating the first time, or if I ever video created before, and I'm like, no, I literally just touched this program.
That's like a natural talent there. Yeah,
Yeah. And I feel really fulfilled after doing that. So I continued onto it, and more positives just kept happening from there.
mm,
So that initial thing was where I was like, all right, this is the career path I'm going into. And and to go back in that aspect, what I felt like was a fear of, if I were to work for a company, I wouldn't motivate myself to do things on my own, where I would just throw all my efforts into this thing, and then once I leave that thing, then I would leave all that thing behind, and I didn't want to do that.
yeah. Yeah, freelance, you get to take it with you. It's your personal projects, really. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly. And when you have a portfolio, and then you have all your skill sets that you can show off, and they're yours, that someone paid you to do, you keep that. That I think is really valuable. But so whenever you talk about you went into school and you got into counseling, man, I think that's like that's really respectable, man. And that's a big thing. And sometimes I think about it myself. It's like, man, and sometimes I'll have myself in the back of my head. It's like, what would have happened if I went into school again, or if I were to reach out to this company? Like, I had opportunities to go into a newscast, right? But
that's
I chose to not go that route. I was like, you know what? Nah,
you weren't
no, no,
in.
no, no, no. I wasn't interested, man.
Yeah, I'm not either. Yeah,
It's and that I think that's where the roads go into different directions, man.
yeah.
It's
Following your interests and so you're thinking about like going into other. You thought about like other. I guess when going back to school and maybe other careers that you could potentially explore. I guess.
News journaling, photo journaling, stuff in the newspaper, specific broadcasts. Those sit me still to this day. So I'm thinking like, all right, well, if I wanted to go on a full-time job, I can get into that route. Um, but there's still something in the back of my head. It's like, you know what? No, 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 no. Okay, look, you're getting money this way. You have the skill sets enough to get into that job. Why not go further up? Just keep building up those skills. And in some weird way, I kind of tricked my brain to saying, okay, go shoot higher, shoot higher. You can shoot higher. Don't go for this job, shoot higher. Go
Yeah,
into higher production. And so it never really stops. And I think that's cool. So when you talk about that strategy where you don't have to give up on passion or career, I really do like that.
yeah. And I don't know if, how many people think of it that way because like I hear people tell me all the time like I have to choose one or the other, and for me I'm like no. I mean, there's got to be a way you can still do both. There's got to be some out of the box idea. We're
Ah!
with this podcast.
So in talking about the top in the topic number 3,
Mhm.
passion versus career. I I really like that you were talking about what you're trying to do as far as getting your a career out there, going back into school, getting your master's in counseling, and you're still making time to do videos and projects. That's the near definition of I'm gonna do an out of a box idea to
Right.
get it all together.
Nothing.
Repackage your stuff.
Yeah, nothing's gonna stop me. I'm gonna find a way. And I promise this to myself. I was like making a vow. Like I'm like, no matter what happens in my life, I am gonna find some way to continue making films. I don't care if it ever makes me money or not. I don't care if time is an issue. I'm gonna make time, and I'm gonna keep making them. Every year that I can, because it's one of those things. I guess that's special that you're so passionate about that nothing else really matters. I guess it's not about money. It's not about like you're gonna make time for it because it's important. I guess
Comes back to topic number 2, your
uh,
motive.
exactly motivation. When you have that strong motivation, then that's all it takes, really.
Yeah, and plus what? Like if you get into a big time career, like this is gonna be me thinking about the future, and I feel pretty confident about this, is that you're gonna be in a spot later in life where you are gonna have that time put into this skill, and you have that enough motivation and energy to hypothetically be the master of your craft. But when you're finally up there and you're doing that craft, is it something that internally is gonna make you motivated to continue on?
That's
And
that's a hard question.
it comes down to that race where, yeah, okay, look, I understand getting paid bills is important and having the money comes down, but you got to really think about, all right, like all the money in the world could be thrown at me. Am I still going to be happy after the fact that I did this job? And will it make me happy knowing that I did this job afterwards?
Yeah, and it's definitely a balance, I agree because I feel like I can have a lot of money, but be doing something I don't enjoy and just not be happy, and the money isn't gonna, it's not gonna change my level of happiness, I don't think. Um,
Oh yeah, man.
Materialistic stuff, like, I mean, I could get, like I've talked to Jose before, like I collect these Hot Toys figures and I could, like, let's say I was given all the Hot Toys figures that have ever been made in the world tomorrow. Well, it wouldn't be interesting and it would be kind of boring almost. I'd be like, okay, now I have them. Now what? Now what do I do? You
Now what
know what I'm
is
saying?
it?
Yeah, so
Oh, dude, that's so perfect.
there's no journey. There's no journey. Like, so the journey is like skipped to the end. So, so yeah, I like what you're saying. But the balance I was talking about is it seems like there's a balance between, making money to survive in the world because we live in a world where we need money to survive and get food, shelter, and all that stuff. And also balancing that with doing what you love to where you don't hate your life, to where you still enjoy life. And it really depends on the career you choose. Like if you have extra hours after work to be able to still do your passion, then that's great.
Yeah.
And that I think that's kind of what some of it's about. Or if you can find a way, like we talked about, meshing it together to where you still are doing what you love, but still making a good amount of money.
Exactly. Then that those all factor in. There's another thing I think also fits into the pie. Going back into topic number two, which is fear. Because I talked about motive, and well, I would say fear, anxiety, and then third outcome. But in number two, there's this thing that can happen. It's called sink cost fallacy. It is a thing where you're gonna spend all this time into a particular field, and then their thought may come up where it's like, oh my gosh, I spent so much time and energy into this thing. I can't get out of it. Otherwise, it's all gonna go away.
Like it's too late to turn back or change.
Yeah, you gotta keep going forward.
And is that
And
true? I mean, I don't know. I
it's been in a lot of media, man.
probably
There's a lot of quote unquote success stories that turned really sour.
Yeah, I think it's not too late because I think if you want to change the trajectory of your career, you can do it at any point. You know, even like because I heard about this guy who was in his late 40s and he had just turned his whole life around, but decided to become a doctor, and he did. So like, it just shows that even if you're older, like you can still go back to school or find some other way, right, to change. But it can be really hard. Like I get what you're saying. It can be really hard because once you put in all this effort, money for school, time for school, of that stress that you went through to get to that career, and then now you're like,
Yeah.
for me, and then it feels like you're cheating yourself. You're like, all right, I spent all this time and money, and it's just all gonna be thrown away almost.
How much personality did you put yourself into that thing? How much would you lose in yourself knowing that you're gonna just completely let that go? And
Yeah,
is that even a healthy aspect to go into? And these are kind of questions I don't think they have a definitive answer.
yeah, they're difficult to answer.
Yeah. So what I have on top of my head is BoJack Horseman.
Oh yeah, for
Uh, yeah, it's a cartoon show about this actor, and you kind of go in his walks of life. But BoJack Horseman has an idol TV cast person that he looks up to, but his people that it looks up to, and this goes into the parents also being a negative figure. The parents are a negative figure as far as like abuse. then the person he idolizes is also a negative motivation for his life. So basically, BoJack Horseman was following this person's advice, saying, "Never look back. There's nothing there for you. Always keep your eyes forward." And so BoJack Horseman took that motivation into his life and became a successful actor. Well, not to spoil it, but the whole point of the show is about BoJack Horseman's negative lifestyle ends up hurting everyone around him.
Mm.
So, you can have all the money in the world, you can have all the fame, you can have everything that you desire, but does it really fulfill the happiness inside?
Yeah, exactly. Because happiness is a complicated thing that can't just be bought with money or captured by, it can be captured in a jar, like it's complicated.
It's so hard, dude. So, and to try to kind of tie it back on this, man, and really it goes into a fourth section is the video editing.
Mhm.
The what fulfills you in your editing?
I like that question. I like actually, yeah. So I remember times starting out where I used to kind of hate video editing. And I remember going back and forth with that growing up. Like, because I started in fourth grade. Like that was the first time I started making movies and been doing it ever since then. And so you can imagine there's a lot of phases in between to where editing was a love-hate,
Yeah.
like that love-hate relationship. Or I don't know if
Oh yeah.
yeah, like I want to hear some of your stories because I don't know if you've felt this before. Like you're like you've edited all this stuff, right? And then you get to this scene, and you get to the scene that you've anticipated is going to be a difficult one to edit. Like it's just you know the script, you've kind of gone through, you filmed it, you were there when you were filming it and all that stuff. So like this scene is going to be just one of those edits that's going to be tedious. It's going to be confusing. Like you're not even sure if you can edit it. You know what I mean? Like, have you ever had that before?
And
Or
it's necessary, you gotta keep it there. And it's like it's always stuck on you like on a monkey on your back.
yeah, yeah, you can't delete it. Like, I wonder if you have like any examples of that or like stories or
Oh dude, perfect. Yeah, no, I got you, man. That all right, so I did this thing where I was ghost hunting. And
nice.
long story short, I spent like a good some amount of money, like at least a paycheck worth, to get this one night in haunted housing. So I filmed 8 hours straight. I had everything ready. Like I had two cameras, 8 batteries charged, all my audio charged, and I was just like, all right, I'm gonna make the most out of this trip. And which I did. I was filming for that whole 8 hours plus what 6 hours before that.
Yeah, that's a,
So yeah, it was like 14 hours of shooting. Now we put that 14 hours of shooting on my computer and this is where we're at. I I looked at it, dude, and then looked at the 40-minute mark and my 10 hours of shooting and I got overwhelmed.
I would be too.
This is like, and to tell you, this one day of shooting took me 7 months to edit.
Yeah, no, I believe it, man. I definitely believe that. I mean, that's a lot of hours if you really think about that. Like, man,
Oh, dude.
how do you,
uh,
I guess you had to break it down. I mean, I don't know how you got through it, like,
dude, a lot of not crying, but I had a lot of moral support and emotional support with like friends that were there with me. Uh, and then like there was also the fear, the suspense where it's like, Emilio, it's been 6 months. Why haven't you got this project done?
And where's the context of it? Like, was it a personal project or was someone having like a deadline for you to, or
Oh, it was a personal passion project.
okay, yeah. But sometimes like I know what you mean. Like sometimes you have deadlines for yourself. You're like, man, I want to have this done by a certain time.
Yeah. And you put it off and there's nothing really scaring you into getting done until time has passed and you think about it, it's like, dude, it's about to hit a year until you get this stuff done. What happened?
Exactly. Like I always have that ticking clock whenever I start a film project. That ticking clock is it's kind of like anxiety and I guess that fear you're talking about. It's like I gotta get this done. I gotta get this done. And then I
So
have to remind myself not to rush it.
Oh man, and you know what? That's another feeling too. If you if you feel like you're knocking things out real quick, it's like, did you really like put all your effort into
Yes.
that thing? Did you put that love in there? And yeah, it's like you kind of hurt yourself in that sense. I
Yeah.
don't know why the brain works that way, but you end up punishing yourself for doing a good thing.
It's funny, right? Yeah, the brain is definitely complicated in that way. And it's funny how these are personal projects we're passionate about. We're doing it for fun. Like we're not getting, there's no pressure. It's not like a test we're gonna fail, but we still we have these standards, I guess, for ourselves. And maybe it's based on past experiences that we know we're good and we know we can pull this off. And so like when we start lagging behind, we're probably like, what's going on, man? Like
Oh, dude, the feeling gets intense for me personally, because uh when I do some project for somebody like a flat rate or something, like it's me just going through the motions and giving them the product, and they think it's good and they say you're amazing. So when I decide to do my personal and I see my self faltering and I'm looking at myself, it's like me as a client looking at you. It's like, man, get it together. What's your problem?
yeah. And sometimes we can be even harder on ourselves than other people too.
Yeah. So the personal projects, dude, I feel like is the most intense.
Mm,
Uh, so okay, going back on what you're saying in that topic, things that you think are like the hardest in editing.
yeah.
When I was in the 40-minute mark, 8 hours of editing to go, I was looking at all that footage and like I didn't have a plan of saying like is this gonna be an hour video or 20-minute video, 5-minute video? And I really put in my head is like, dude, I shot 14 hours. How am I gonna put this in 20 minutes?
Oh wow, you had to get it to 20 minutes. That's
Yeah. Dude, and yeah, I successfully put it in 20 minutes,
that's
right?
impressive. That's
uh,
better than months.
that, and yeah, dude, like now that it's way past me, I look at that and I'm like, dude, how? That's
Yeah,
intense.
I know, right?
But in the between time when I was in it, I was telling myself that, dude, this sucks. This is gonna be a sucky video.
Yes.
And I probably shouldn't have went through all this effort to get the video done. This is gonna be a botch project.
Yeah, you
That's
start having that self-doubt and I mean I feel that I don't know about you, but for every major film project I do, not so much the short stuff, I guess, because it's shorter, but like the full-length film projects, that self-doubt always creeps in when I first start editing it, or even in the middle, like right now, even like when I first
yeah.
started this horror movie, I was like, oh man, is this really working? Did I mess up? Like, is this movie gonna be good? You know what I mean? Like,
We're always in that point, right? I don't think that ever goes away. It's almost symbolic with the enjoyment of editing.
mm,
So you're in this almost like to say a balance between that fear and that motivation, because then that's why it leads into the outcome, the fulfillment that you got it finished up.
right.
So yeah, dude, getting overwhelmed and getting self-doubt, it happens in every project I've done. It never went away. I don't think in video editing, I think it's actually not necessary, but I think it's always there.
Yeah, and maybe it is, because maybe it's a healthy, because in psychology we think of anxiety, there's healthy level of anxiety, and then there's like the clinical anxiety that causes distress, and the healthy anxiety is what makes someone study for a test, because it's just enough anticipatory anxiety to make someone worry about failing, so it makes them work harder. And I think that can be applied to video editing as well. Like you have that self-doubt, the little bit of healthy anxiety and healthy self-doubt, and that's what pushes you and motivates you to try harder and to make sure you do a good job on it. So maybe there is.
Yeah.
I
And
think,
there is uh there's a on the other aspect of it, when you feel that self-doubt, when you finally get that edit and you look at that shot and it flows perfect along with your camera work and everything aligns to
yes.
just create the necessary shot,
Uh,
I get so hyped. I have
oh
never felt so motivated and so overpowered to get that thing done than the moment that I actually get the shot.
yeah, you're definitely not alone in that, man. Like that's happened to me so many times, and I think that's how our brain works. We love rewards when we feel that high of accomplishment. of like this came together beautifully. Like this is better than what I did last time, you know? Like that's such a great, powerful feeling. And I just recently felt that with this horror film that I've been editing for the past month or so, you know, like
Ooh.
last weekend, like I kind of checked this nightmare scene that I finished editing, and it's like, oh man, this turned out pretty damn good. Like, I'm glad, you know, like
Oh, dude, that's so cool. I can't
so
wait.
rewarding.
So, and dude, man, I'm looking at your other shots and edits, and maybe this could be a callback into your channel.
Yep.
Solipsism.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
hope I said that right.
Solipsism.
Your your shots. So in the specific scene, this is like near the ending. Your character is out of the picture, and your brother is trying to rescue you.
Right.
You're in this scene where your brother is like in this limbo state
Right.
of darkness, and this let's say woman kind of like puts you into the dark realm. He kind of dies, and he's in the afterlife. The
Mm.
afterlife is now torturing him and his past self-doubts, and then you put all these specific visuals in it.
Mm.
uh my favorite scene, which I think you executed perfectly, was the war. You were shooting a kind of like a war scene, and then it cuts back into your brother, and then he gets this like jump scare of like this molten
Oh,
corpse
oh,
face right in front of
yeah,
you.
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, that's Discarnate. Yeah.
That's discarnate.
Yeah,
Oh
that's
no, that's not
no, no,
socialism. Yeah.
no, you're good. You're good. But yeah, yeah, I appreciate it, man. Thanks.
Dude, yeah, dude, that discarnate was cool. And then like the dream sequence with you and your brother are going into different worlds to try like escape hell.
Right, the
I
parallel, yeah.
Dude, man, that was like, oh shoot, man, you like shot that perfectly.
Thanks, man. Yeah, and it's funny because you say that, and I had a lot of self-doubt with those sections, especially actually the most self-doubt that I still feel sometimes is the one you're talking about where they're in the darkness, they're like the afterlife, or like he's like with all that self-doubt and like he's having all this weird imagery, the brother, you know. And
That's my favorite part of the
oh really?
film.
So
Yeah.
that's a relief to hear because I was always like, oh, did I drag it on too long? Is it too much? You know what I mean? Is it too weird? But it's
Oh,
just
dude. I mean, look, man, like, pat yourself on the back, girl, because, like, I think, like, looking at films, or indie films and stuff like that, people kind of like look for that stuff.
right.
So you're fulfilling a niche that people really trying to itch, and you hit that on the ball, perfect, man.
Well, that's good to hear, man. I appreciate that. And I definitely I see that sometimes because like for me, like I'll watch a lot of David Lynch movies. Like you ever hear about David Lynch? The
Oh yeah, Twin Peaks.
yeah, yeah, he does a lot of surrealist work and I'm always like, oh man, I like his work. I just wish there was a little bit more, like more surreal stuff. There's not enough. You know what I mean? So that's why I'm always my I guess version or I guess you know you get inspired by filmmakers. You're like I could do this a better way in this way, right? And that pushes you and motivates you to make it the way you want to see it. And for me, when I watch a movie, like I want to see if I'm watching a surrealist movie, I want there to be a lot of surrealism, not just like one or two like little scenes. I want there to be like as much as I can think of kind of thing. So I think yeah, so like when you're talking about that niche, like that's the niche I feel is missing, and that so I'm like I want to make it because it doesn't exist yet. If
Oh, dude, that's so cool.
yeah, but
Yeah.
yeah, you're talking about like that in relation, I guess, to the editing process and self-doubt and stuff
For
like that.
real. Now, okay. So since we're on that topic, so we talked about things that you self-doubt yourself on, right?
Right?
Or you feel like things that are super fulfilling. But there's a third thing where I think can also tie in is your complacent editing. What I mean by that is that you spend so much time crafting the specific shot and this style of shooting that now you can recreate it no problem.
Uh-huh.
And do you feel like in your films, or do you feel like in your edits you know how to do a thing and you can't feel accomplished anymore because you know how to get from point A to point B easy?
Yeah, it's almost like a feeling, am I repeating this too much, I guess.
Yeah.
Yeah, I felt that. I have felt that before because obviously, like as a filmmaker and directors, the directors me and you probably look up to, like David Lynch, or for me, like and maybe you too, like Christopher Nolan or Quentin Tarantino, stuff like that, like iconic. directors, you know their style. Like when you see a movie that made by them, you know what to expect.
You can call it
Yeah.
basically the way it's shot.
Yeah, and as beginning filmmakers, I'm trying to figure out what my unique style is. And I think that plays into what you're saying because like is it good or bad to have like the same editing, like the same kind of style that like you know how you're gonna do it and you know how it's gonna turn out, you have an idea of what it's gonna look like because you've done it before. Well, then that kind of reinforces your unique style and in terms of your uniqueness as a film director, like people are like, okay, that's his type of movie because he edited that the same way that he did in the past. And so, but at the same time, I have felt that way. Like, should I change it up, or still kind of finding my identity as what type of style do I have? Like Project Spider-Man, I experimented in that one by doing a lot of slow, long, prolonged shots, kind of something Tarantino or M. Night Shyamalan would kind of do, like where you have a long drawn out shot and you don't have very many cuts. And I was experimenting with that. And then I started figuring, well, I don't know, do I want to do this as my style? I was still figuring it out.
Oh
Um,
yeah.
it's a
Um,
learning process, but
well, and this it's kind of hard to ask, or no, not hard to ask, answer, because I'll have those thoughts myself. And
yeah.
you know what? My brain is always fighting me and telling me, yeah, you know what? You already know how to do this. Why do you keep doing it again and again?
So you
It's
feel
like the
like,
one trick pony show.
like with editing, right? Like you feel like you need to, I guess, vary up the way you edit it or film it, or is that kind of what you mean?
Yeah, because like you feel like you're cheating yourself because it's like everyone's coming to see you to see that film, to see that style of editing. But it's also a voice in my head that's like, well, I mean, yeah, you're giving the people what you want, but now you're doing it for them and you're not doing it for yourself.
So you mean like it's almost like not genuine enough, like it's for I guess a different reason or
Right, yeah, it's not for you or your own, but I'm conflicted with even how I am presenting that answer because I'm fighting it. In the back of my head,
yeah.
I'm wanting to celebrate your shot styles and what I enjoy what you've done, but I can't see that in myself. And I think that's why it's so like such a cool topic to even discuss because what defines that and how to even talk about what that feeling is.
Yeah, it's
But
complicated.
just to celebrate my favorite editing style you have, just as a premise to this, you shoot Spider-Man, you shoot other films in periods where you're like almost asleep or half asleep, and you get into like this kind of like crazed moment where you're in the bathroom and you're taking like shots of like blood, or you're looking at your hands, they're maybe bloody, or you're taking pills, but they seem very sporadic and they seem very intense, and you use different type of like lights or different angles, and like I see you like spend your time into those. I don't know if you remember like Plethora.
Yeah. Yeah, dude.
uh
I wanted to mention that to the audience too, because I wanted to give you a shout out actually. I was gonna do it towards the end, but hey, I'm gonna do it now because like for everyone watching, Emilio, like this is one of the big things that we worked on together was my folding film project called Plethora, and it was a crime thriller. And Emilio, I kind of thought of you as my producer, even though money wasn't involved, but like in a sense that, I asked you for actors and you got me actors, not just like actors, but you got me like professional, like actors with a lot of experience, which was really cool. And then locations, you got me locations, and then like being there on set to assist with different things. So like I thought that was so awesome. So I just wanted to, throw that out as a shout out.
Thank you, man. And it's a vice versa feeling, dude. Like it allowed me to produce something or to be a hand in that process. I thought it was like the coolest thing ever.
Thanks, man.
And yeah, and you know what? We can go into that time because I remember it very vividly. I think of Plethora a lot. And honestly, man, that was like one of those like crowning moments where I'm like, dude, I'm so happy and so grateful I was a part of this.
Yeah, that's good to hear, man. Like yeah, tell me about that. It's because so you're bringing up plethora, and so tell me about what you're.
Oh, so we'll make it topic number five. But just to go back into like the last part of that process. Whoa, someone's calling me. Hold on. Okay, now we get. Okay, to go back into plethora and why I think your shot style should be celebrated. Um, you make these type of scenes where you are filming your character, and the character is going through some sort of like psychological attack, and it's this specific scene where, and not to spoil something, but you're in the sink, and you're getting these shots of like the lights starting to flicker in and out, and then it goes into like text or different shots of books of like psychology books and the different like anatomy of the human body, and it just gives a preface and the theme of what, like, you know, is going on in the state of mind of that character.
Mm.
So like when you're doing that, I seen it in other shots, and I'm like, dude, that is the coolest thing. That is style. That's so cool.
Thanks, man. So I think I guess you're pulling out like a unique style, that a pattern that you're seeing throughout my, I guess my different films and stuff.
Yeah, for sure.
I would agree. Yeah, I think, like I said, Christopher Nolan's one of my favorite directors, and David Lynch. So like, I definitely think my style leans very heavy towards psychological, and a lot of that was inspired by the way Christopher Nolan edits his films by showing like really quick, like almost fraction of a second, like cutaways to what's in the character's mind, you know. And I always love that style. So, but I'm always like, it's not enough. I want to do more. So like, I try to do it in
Mm.
I try to find some way to incorporate it in every single movie that I do, because I feel like that is kind of my style. It's like psychology, and I got a master's degree in psychology. I might as well use it. And so, yeah, that's my thought process.
Dude, that's so cool. Okay, cool. I was calling it in my head. I was like, I'm looking at that. I was like, all right, that's what he's doing. And so do you ever get that feeling then? Where it's like, all right, this is my style. I got my point A to point B. I know I'm good at doing it, and I want to keep redoing it because I really like doing that.
Yeah.
Does it ever get in the back of your head? It's like, is it bad that I want to keep doing this? Am I really challenging myself? And do I, in my back of my head, feel like I'm putting my best efforts out? And so, yeah, I tax myself that way because it's like, all right, I know how to do this easy, but now it's not fulfilling anymore because it's complacent editing.
You kind of feel like it's, I guess, too repetitive, and you've done it so many times before at this point that you're not challenging yourself or trying anything new, I guess.
Exactly.
Okay. Yeah, that's a hard question. I want to say the thought that's naturally come to my mind is like, um it still feels different each time. It still almost feels challenging. Like, even if I'm kind of using a similar style, I still find myself, I guess because maybe it's because I'm like, each new film project, I'm like, I want to try something a little bit new that pushes the boundaries a little bit farther than the last project. And because by doing that, then it creates a new challenge and a new learning curve, I guess you could say. Like with this horror film, like there's a lot of new things that I tried that I never tried before. And it was kind of challenging sometimes, but then it was trying it in a new way just enough, like to where it felt, I guess, new, if that makes sense.
No, it does, man.
Yeah, it's hard to explain, you know. Yeah, that's a
Because it's a constant state of battle. I don't even know if you call that a balance, because honestly, it's like another side of my head, which I respect and I, you know, depend on, telling me that I'm not trying hard enough, and
Mhm.
I'm like, well, like, am I like, okay, I have to fight against this feeling in my head that no, I am doing good because I have all these other people telling me that what I'm doing is great.
Yeah,
So there's a lot there, man.
and
That's one of those ones I love talking about.
yeah, and it's actually, I never really thought about it like that before, and it also, I can feel that way actually when I kind of get more specific. I think sometimes I feel that way about dialogue scenes. I actually, yeah, I think I really do, because that's where I tend to. That's actually, for some reason, even though dialogue scenes, I guess many people might consider easy compared to like the more complicated dream sequences and all that. But ironically, it's the opposite for me. For me, the dream sequences, the hallucination and the action, that's the easy stuff to edit because it's pretty straightforward. Like, you know, A, B, C, D, and E, like, you know what's going to happen, like what needs to happen after each shot, kind of like someone's going to pick up the gun. I need a shot of picking up the gun. I need a shot of him shooting. I need a shot of someone getting shot. A
Oh,
shot,
that's so
you know what I mean?
interesting.
it's easier, but with dialogue, I feel like it's more complicated, even though it looks like it's simple, because dialogue, you have to balance how long do I keep this shot on this person talking? What am I trying to communicate emotionally and psychologically? When do I cut? You know, that's the hardest part is when do I cut on a dialogue scene? Do I
And
keep, you know what I mean? Like that's to me, that's when I feel repetitive. Like how,
oh, dude, and you built up to those dialogue scenes too. I remember some of those moments, man.
oh yeah,
And yeah, those were oh, dude,
I
like some of
feel,
your dialogues are really like rewarding when you watch the beginning to end.
oh really? Yeah. Tell me more about that. I'm curious. Like,
So there was a scene where you in Plethora, right? You were having to cut back into the mom, and the mom was talking to the brother,
oh yeah,
and you're kind of like putting the two together that oh, and this may go spoiler, just for you know, just spoiler wise.
yeah. Any spoilers? Yeah. Spoiler warning.
Wait, what's that? What?
I was saying spoiler warning has been made.
Spoiler warning. Heck yeah. Uh, and so in this sense, the main character you find out has been taking pills, taking the detective is using pills to get his to his day by day and find out that he's been like going crazy. But you don't understand that or the story or the movie doesn't allude to that until maybe towards the near ending
Right.
when you find this package and the package is like a voice recorder and this letter to his mom telling them that the mom's going away sometime and then it cuts back into the story like a childhood past where the mom is fighting with the boy for some reason I think the brother um,
Right.
and then in the mom's probably just telling him something that's like, I have something really important to tell you. And then she kind of forgets about it or just says, you know what, just forget about it. It's okay. And it's like that final moment where the detective just has a breaking point and just kind of like breaks down. And I'm like, oh, dude, that whole dialogue scene was worth it. And especially getting to that point, seeing the character break down.
Yeah, so
Um,
it's almost like it had its own climax. It was building up to something greater that everything before it had a purpose building up to.
exactly.
Seriously. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's hard to do. So
I didn't even
maybe it's some
realize.
other people's yeah, yeah, man. It had closure. I
Yeah.
think the detective, you know, not to spoil him anymore, but just that scene and then thus leads to the very final scene
Right.
had closure towards the end of it. And you know, you can get to understand where the detective was coming from.
Yeah, exactly. Throughout the whole movie. And then things start to make more sense once you see the ending. And see, that's I mean, again, I go back to like Christopher Nolan is really where I take that inspiration from because a lot he's made a lot of movies that are the noir style of they're a mystery. Even like he mixes that genre of mystery with other genres, and I think it's fascinating. And that's what I always like to do. And that mystery aspect, the plot twist aspect, the aspect that you have to watch the movie more than once to figure out the puzzle. And I love making movies. If I can pull, whenever I can pull off movies that are puzzles, I feel really good about that. Like I love doing that because
Yeah.
it's more interactive for the audience. It's fun, you know. So I love that.
It's hard to do. And then dude, like and if you're gonna keep continue on that style, like I'm excited to see it, man, because I love those storytellings.
Oh yeah, and thankfully, I think so far the horror film is starting to kind of turn into that. Hopefully, so there's a lot of hidden meanings I didn't even realize I was unconsciously putting in there. I was like, oh man, that actually makes sense.
Yes, dude. So I guess like we're gonna go into plethora then. That'd be our fifth topic.
Yeah, definitely, man. I'm down.
All right. That and just that the whole style that you're shooting. I didn't when I was reading the script and then I was seeing the script come to life. It looked so cool. And then just to just say like that process was like something I'm trying to aspire to be. Like yeah, like when you have something physical as a script to produce, I think even having that pre-production standpoint is amazing to have.
Mm.
That's not even things that people would necessarily start with. They would just go straight into production and figure out pre-production in between,
Yeah,
which is a no-no. People should definitely have a script before they start filming.
I agree. Yeah, you got to know the ending.
Shoot the ending first.
Yeah, exactly.
And so yeah, man, like there's a lot I want to go into like Plethora, man, but just like it but if it wasn't for Plethora, I wouldn't have really put myself in an out of body experience of saying, what does it take to create a movie? Yeah, yeah, because when I saw your edit and I saw your timeline, like you put so much work into it. I'm like, oh my gosh. All right, this man has a hand in the script, acting, music, recording, and editing. And then he has to make the post where he has to market his movie and he has to create a physical form of that movie and then sell that movie into like a whole Sundance films.
Right.
That dude, you did the whole like package
Yeah, and
all by yourself.
I love it, man. Like I wouldn't have it any other way.
That's so amazing, bro. Like, yeah, I know, give you the pat on the back, but like, honestly, you really do deserve it. Just to say that you got this one thing and you completed it from beginning to end.
Yeah, thanks, man. I appreciate that. You know, because having that level of control is rare, and I think it's beautiful because you know you have a vision inside your mind, and then you go through every step that you just laid out that you were talking about, and then by the end of it, you're like that vision stayed true to what it was, and it's never gonna be perfect. It's never like the exact vision I have in my head, but I can at least get as close as I can because I'm in control of almost all of those aspects. So
Yeah.
definitely.
Oh, dude, that's so fulfilling too. Your vision into reality.
Yeah, when it turns
I that that's the outcome. That's like the what makes a lot of that stress worth it.
yeah, the motivation.
So yeah, man, we're talking about that plethora and dude, your shooting style, editing style, the whole package to get it from beginning to end. That's something to be proud of, bro. Honestly. And so when we're talking about plethora, that to me was a defining moment of like what is it gonna take to create a film? What do I have to do to actually get this finished up? And I was kind of, in a sense, studying like your whole process to say, all right, this is what I got to do to make my film, kind of thing. So yeah,
Kind of from your perspective, because what was that like? What is, I guess, the process that you studied or noticed or
oh man, all right. So you had the script, you had a friend, Millie, and you were writing a script, and you showed me this whole like page. I don't even remember how big it was. I think it was somewhere around 45 pages.
yeah, probably so.
And when I looked at that, I was like, dude, oh my gosh, okay. You physically have something that you're gonna give someone and you're ready to go on it. Like that in itself was already like a feat by itself because like dang, that's something I haven't even done myself. And at the time, I was like, "Whoo, all right, I better take it serious now." It's almost like a power move, man. It's like it really motivates you. Me is like, all right, if this person wants me to be on this project, I better take it serious because look at what he already produced. And if anything, it kind of showcases you to say this guy's trustworthy because look, he's put this much effort into it. He's not gonna just drop it.
Oh yeah, I take it very seriously. Definitely.
Yeah. Dude, to this day, I'll see people throw in $800 and completely throw the project and say, "Nah, it's too much work. I'm okay."
Wow, that's crazy to me because I don't even do budgets or anything. I just make my stuff for free.
Dude, and I'm just saying, man, whenever you get the money, and if you're spending this much effort with no money and no budget, imagine if you had a budget.
Oh, right. Yeah, I would love that'd be awesome, man. I would.
Yeah. So that was that my first initial reaction when you gave me plethora, and I was like, wow, this guy's going for it. This is crazy. So the second thing I noticed, man, was your Facebook messages. You had this calendar and you tag people in on Facebook and you got all the actors, you got all this different like production people in it and just saying we're meeting at this specific time on this day and I'm gonna give you the location inside of it. And then you had it like scheduled to where in the next 2 weeks you got the next film location and meeting happening and you got this location meeting happening and you already had the groundwork already put And I'm like, oh my God, dude, that's freaking crazy. That's even before we started shooting.
Right. Yeah. No, I think sometimes I'm kind of OCD, you know, joking around like, but yeah, like seriously, I'm definitely an organized planner kind of personality, you could say. Definitely.
Yeah, yeah, man. And so when we're in that process, I'm looking at the filming, and you were asking me questions, saying, "Hey, if is there somebody that you know who can help to do this?" And I'm like, "Oh my goodness, dude! Like, yeah, look at all this stuff. Like, yeah, people would love to get onto this." So luckily, I had somebody that who wanted to get into the shots, and introduced Cintero, Jose, and he was wanted to go shoot to be a detective. How would you say your detective in crime partner?
Yeah, that's what I would say. And
Okay.
and yeah, oh, man, he's a great actor. Like I'm really glad that you were able to get him for me because like just like I remember that scene in the interrogation room where he was yelling at me as I left, and that he conveyed such strong emotions and they felt from like they were from a real place. And he's the first actor I work with that can like cry, you know what I mean? Like he's really a high level, he was really good, man. And he got a lot of compliments from people who've seen the movie too. So yeah, man, you could tell he had experience.
I know he's not here, but I would say this for him because he explained it to me. He was so happy working on Plethora because it defined his acting career, where he's using that movie to
Oh yeah,
branch himself out of horror.
that's awesome, man. Yeah, no,
Yeah.
I'm glad I could be a part of that because I think he deserves it. He's good. Like,
Oh man, and just so yeah, Plethora did so many things for me, man. So studying on that pre-production part, the way that you brought your actors in, the way that you scheduled the meetings, the locations, and then the way that you had the script already planned. That first part, I was like looking at it, I was like, oh my God, all right, he has all that done. I need to have all that completed before I even think about doing a shot.
mhm. Yeah, so you kind of like I guess got a different idea of like what to do preparing for a film shoot, I suppose.
Yep. Exactly. And Polly was even perfect. In your opinion, do you think that you had everything down at that time?
No, I don't know if I ever really feel prepared for a film shoot. It's so complicated. Like,
it, it did, and then just to see it, like, yeah, I don't know if I'll ever feel prepared myself, but there's like a skill tree of this going higher, and the person that is already at the mountain says he's not prepared. Like, how's that even work, man?
I'm just being honest. Like, I still go on film shoots, and I'm like, how the hell am I going to film this? You know, like, whew, like I anticipated being a difficult one, or even dialogue. You know, like you think dialogue seems to be easy to do, but I overthink them. I really do. Like those are probably what I overthink the most. And the reason why is because you're gonna have two main shots for like the majority of the scene. You're not gonna be able to vary it up so much unless you have the actor to do like 20 takes and you do like five different shots. But and I still do that sometimes, where I'll have at least four different versions of like reverse shot, and like a wide shot. So, but yeah, no, I definitely overthink a lot when I'm filming, before I'm filming, all that stuff. It's just
And
it's
it's always better to be over prepared and overshoot than to be without a shot,
oh, because
right?
I faced that before and it's not good. You know,
Oh man.
you didn't get a shot and you find out later in editing, oh man, I could have used that shot. You know.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, dude. And then yeah. So when you're having an overwhelmed thought, I think it stinks. I don't know if there's another way around it, man. But it's sometimes I feel like that's a healthy anxiety to have. You're talking about what hurts your health and what actually is, um, you know, good for you. I think overthinking your shots in the introduction is probably a positive.
Yeah, definitely. Because it
Uh,
pushes you to work harder. Yeah.
yeah, because all right, because once you shot, you're leaving, and those actors leave, so you got to make sure when you're there and everyone's there, then you are on your A game and you're getting those shots down.
Yeah, and definitely, man. You got to make sure it's worth it too. And that's sometimes I guess you could say there's some pressure there too, you know, because if like working with professional or experienced, I guess I could say actors on Plethora, there is a little bit of pressure there, you know, because you want to make sure you're doing something that's good that makes them feel like it was worth their time. And you know, because I remember like Jose coming in late, like late nights to film. Like we filmed Plethora. I think you remember like you were there a few times on the late night shoots, and like we were filming like when it was dark out, and like I can't remember the times, probably like 6 to 10 p.m. at night sometimes, something like that.
Yeah, man.
Those are those are hard hours to meet sometimes for some people with busy schedules. So yeah, I mean,
And it's almost like a performance. So I don't think people put this in perspective. Yeah, it's a lot of pressure for actors to be on camera, but on the other hand, it's a lot of pressure for the guys on camera to get those type of shots
yeah, definitely.
and to make sure that everything's recording, that you don't have to do a retake because that one actor's performance may be the only performance you're gonna have
Exactly.
to work with.
I've made that mistake too, you know, where like I didn't correct something or whatever, and then in editing I'm like, oh man, I should have. And that's it, making those mistakes is what's made me fine tune that to where I'm like, I'm not gonna make that mistake again, you know?
Oh man, dude, that's sad. That's crazy.
Yes.
It So okay, you were talking about times and meeting together, late night like shoots and stuff like that. I wanted to chime in and just to say like there were times where I had it in the back of my head. I was like, dude, man, I wish I put more time
Oh,
into being in the scenes with y'all. Cause I don't know if you remember, man. I was on the messages telling you that I was straight up not gonna be able to make it to the shoots.
yeah, I remember it was like it was towards like the middle or something like that, right? I think
Yeah.
we're getting busy and stuff.
So at the time, I had the online video marketing company. And with that company, those guys were demanding a lot of work. So after school, late nights, I would be in the office, shooting and editing online marketing videos. And in my head, I was like, man, dude, I don't want like the project to go. And in some ways, I had a fear that was like, dang, dude, like they still think I'm not taking this serious. Like I
Oh,
hope, and I would have those fears, man. Where it's like, dang, dude, I don't want to make this guy think like, I'm only gonna give him 40% of my efforts. Like, nah, that's like I love Plethora a lot.
yeah,
No,
no,
no, the
yeah, you don't have to worry about that. I mean, because like you provided actors, great actors, not just like people, but like experienced actors, locations. That I mean, that was awesome. That without you helping in that process, I don't think the movie would have been turned out the way it would have, and it probably would have been a lot harder, I think.
and dude, man, just to have a hand. Like I know it is podcast, but just the fourth wall break here, then, dude. Like just to be a part of that, and for you to say that, it means a lot.
Yeah, no, definitely, man, definitely.
Oh man, and so just to that, I think that's another aspect about it, and this would be the production phase where making it to the shoots and shooting the things and being with the actors is a lot of pressure. But
Yeah,
a bigger pressure is to have to decide whether you're going to show up or not show up and, say why you can't show up. Because, like,
mhm.
this is, whenever it comes down to it, we're in college, so I think we had a lot of time to play around. But if we were to try to repeat Plethora at the time we have now, it may be a little harder because we have bills and we have work schedules to play around with.
You know, and it's funny that you say that because I have to say, like with Plethora, for me, in college, and it's different for different people, but for at that time when we were filming Plethora, I think I had a lot of classes. I remember that, and then I also had like a job, like can't remember if I had two jobs or one job, but the main idea is that like I had the only time we had time to film was in the late afternoons and late nights, and I know that was also because of some other people's schedules, but that was hard, you know, because like I felt that pressure sometimes, the time stress, I guess you could say.
Yeah.
I was busy with doing classes, studying, doing my job for money, and then trying to film and then trying to edit and all this stuff at once. And then on top of that, you know, St. Mary's had a lot of events and just different things like
You
that.
had to show up to those events too, yeah.
Yeah, it was so much at once. It was very stressful. So I can definitely confidently say when we were filming Plethora, I was extremely busy at that time, tired, probably stressed out. So, imagine trying to make a movie that's so complicated. Movies are hard to make to begin with, but then also
Yeah.
with all that added stuff on top of it, you know what I mean? Like, and you had to think
So
on your feet too. You really did.
yeah, I remember times where, we're trying to like make something, make a shot, and we'll have to like completely scrap it to
Yeah,
just come up with a different shot.
exactly. Our times when we would start trying to, I guess, figure out with the actors. Like I remember one of the actors had a question about the script, and I was like, "Oh man, I don't know if we have time to address this. We need to, you know what I mean?" Like we were filming in your house, I think, uh, when the serial killer guy was had that guy in the chair.
Yep,
Yeah.
yep. And he was walking around into the kitchen with the knives. So
Yeah.
was that just off the top of your head right then and there on that day?
Oh no, that was in the script. Well, actually, to be honest with you, I can't remember. Like, I know like it's in the script that he grabbed a knife from the kitchen, but the way he did it, you know what I mean? Like, but like as an example, I remember like there was a disagreement about um like how he would be strapped to the chair,
Yeah.
like I think it was I can't remember what it was. Was it like ropes or duct tape?
We did we do zip ties?
Zip ties, right? Because that was the serial killer's MO. It was zip ties and
Mm.
just kind of problem solving things like that, and then sometimes the zip ties would fall off the chair or you know what I
It
mean?
would just,
It's-
yeah, we would get that on shot, and it's like, oh my God, how do you gonna justify that shot right there?
yeah, exactly. And lighting, there's so many things that can go wrong on a film shoot and so many challenges. And
Yeah.
I don't know about you, but you feel that time pressure, like time is running out. Like I only have like 2 or 3 hours to film this complicated scene, you know?
Man, and just to go back, so in your perspective, you think even without a budget, just the time constraints was just stressful to begin with in creating this project, right?
Yeah, definitely.
But what I'll say on that, dude, is that I think it's kind of cool that you say that because maybe now when you have that pressure and you're given a budget, it may be easier for you to produce a film because the time that you've used no budget and had less time, you were able to make something out of it. Hence now when you have a budget, you may have more time and it may be easier for you to film that project.
Right.
Knocking on wood. I don't want to jinx you.
I know, so yeah, because you're building those skills. You learn by experience and making mistakes and learning. And I definitely think Plethora was a good experience for teaching that how to like work with limited time. Definitely.
Oh yeah, man. And just to speak about your character too. Not once did I ever see you lose a composure or look irritated at all. Like if you say you're stressed, you had a smile on your face. You did not look stressed whatsoever. Like,
Right.
and that's pretty cool, man.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I mean, I'm good at hiding that. I'm very good at like controlling and hiding, and because I always try to be professional. Like, I don't want the last thing I want to do is to have an uncomfortable set. Like that's because then you're not gonna have a fun environment, and it's not gonna be as productive, and everyone's gonna be having a bad time. So, like to me, it's extremely important to remain professional, even when you're in a stressful conflict. Definitely.
Yeah, I've experienced an uncomfortable set
Oh,
before.
really? So I'm kind of curious about that.
Uh just to derail Plethora a little bit. Uh this movie I was filming was Fear, and it was a similar kind of like setting where we had like an hour long or an hour and a half long film, and we dedicated this one day to shoot 40 minutes of that an hour and a half long film. So this 40 minutes, man, we had seven actors and we drove the seven actors all out into like this really dead end neck of woods. Uh, and these woods were filled with mosquitoes. We didn't plan for the mosquitoes. The actors were miserable. And then the last thing that happened was it started raining.
Ah,
And in the middle of like the shooting, rain came down. And I was there with my director guy and me as a filmmaker, and we just looked at each other and it's like, we threw up our hands and we just sat down on the rock. Both of us was our actors kind of looked at this and it's like the actors looked at this like you really just like about to just throw this project? And we weren't saying anything at the time. But there was a moment where The actors are looking at us, and they looked at us like, "Don't waste our time.
Oh,
Don't tell us that, dude. We're gonna throw this project."
I've
And
been.
then rain stopped, and we just got back up and started shooting again. But yeah, I'll never forget that moment.
Yes, you've experienced something similar, right? And that reminds me of a time in my life too, in high school when I was filming the this project, and uh, it was set up to in a way to where we only had that location for a very limited amount of time. So I just had all of my actors come there at once, and we didn't film the scenes in any particular, I guess. Well, we kind of filmed them in order, but like the point is, like one of my actors wasn't getting any screen time for like a couple hours, because we were filming scenes that his character wasn't in, and so it created, some conflict and tension there, some understandable
Oh,
understandable frustration, because
okay,
they feel like
yeah.
they're just sitting waiting, right? But it was a complicated thing that in hindsight, if I were to go back and do it again, I've learned from that and be like, okay, I'm only going to invite the actors I need for these scenes, and when I get those scenes done with just them, then I tell, okay, other actor that I need for this scene, you can come by. We finish these scenes. That way, they're not waiting for us to film the other scenes.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Man, at that time in high school, I would have just sat there just to be part of the fun. I don't know, like just, but I understand. Like
yeah,
that person felt like they were just sitting there that whole time, and it made you feel bad because you being in the hand and the director in charge
yeah.
kind of made that person uncomfortable, right?
Right. And I didn't find out about it until later on. But like, it's one of those things to where I mean, I was like thinking about, I was in the mindset of an immature teenager. Very like not as much as experience as I have now. So it was more amateur filmmaking, and there was no plan really at that time. I mean, like the planning that you were talking about today with Plethora, it wasn't really there. Not really. I mean, it's kind of more like winging it at the time. So there's definitely been a lot of growth and learning and mistakes, and yeah, definitely.
Yeah, if I have gone back with my experience now, it's all about making the actors feel comfortable and have fun and let them know that they're appreciated for being there, knowing that they're spending their resource and time to make something that I want a reality. And dude, it comes down to that point. Like that's why I say money and career is fun and all, but it's not a fulfilling thing in my head. What I think is motivating and that the package is complete and I actually feel like I've got something out of my time and outcome is that I'm able to convey a story from beginning to end.
Yeah, exactly.
My inner motivation, topic two, communication.
Yeah, your unique story, your unique vision. Exactly. It's very rewarding. You're
Eh,
literally materializing your imagination into real life. It's crazy when you think about it.
Really, yeah, man. And almost like people would buy in that immersion and in fact celebrate that and call it magic. You created movie magic.
Yeah.
That's something that money can, purchase,
Yeah,
man.
exactly. Like, I mean, really, it's insane when you think about it. I mean, you're literally taking visions inside your mind that are only inside your mind. No one else can see them but you. And then you're forcing them out into reality, into a physical form. And that way you can share what's in your mind with everyone else. And I just think that's such a cool thing that you can't find. You can only find it in art, I guess. Like paintings, obviously, but films, it's just awesome.
Oh yeah, and there's different ways to doing it too.
Yeah.
Hence, hey, it doesn't always have to be film because
Yeah.
you don't want to overburn yourself. Film, editing, shooting, that's all fun, but also find ways to balance it or dilute it with some stuff that you also find enjoyable.
Yeah.
That way you're not hurting yourself, man.
Yeah, you make it more interesting. You can go back and forth, and that's the beauty of it, definitely, man. I'm kind of curious, like if I were to ask you, what for Plethora, like, do you feel like there's like a memory that stands out from shooting, like whether it's like a funny memory or a cool memory, or I guess any kind of memory, really, like,
There's good memories, man. But you know what? I want to say this one. I wasn't in the picture when this part happened. That's actually the post production part.
Oh yeah.
The when when I finally looked at your video and I looked at the physical form of Plethora, and I saw the paper with just the actual Blu-ray DVD of Plethora. I saw that and I'm like, oh my God, this feels so good. I physically held something I had a hand in, and it's like you gave me a Christmas gift, man.
Yeah, like with
That
the name on it and
dude, that like I was so fulfilling. I feel like I never felt like that intense feeling of happiness just rushed through when I had a physical copy in my hand.
man, I had no idea that they had that much of an impact on me. I think that's awesome. Yeah.
Dude, really, honestly, it means like everything. Like, bro, Petra like had so much of like, will you say the humble beginnings or the foundation of where I'm at?
Yeah, like that's kind of where like you started getting into the video work and stuff like that, and then we worked together and all that. And yeah, yeah, definitely, man.
Dude, to go back into the memory, you had the Final Cut Pro timeline, and I think you're showing it on Facebook Live thing, and you're talking about this specific moment where actor friend of mine got shot, and oh, and it's not too spoiler, but basically the car blew up, and I'm looking like that, and it's like, oh, the car blew up and there was a fire, but we never shot a fire.
Oh,
How's
yeah,
he gonna produce this? And
right.
I'm like, when you finally got into execution, I just gave you so much respect points after that. And I'm like, dude, I know what it took to get that shot complete and finished to move on to the next part.
Yeah, it's not always easy, and a lot of times you don't know if you can pull it off, and that's scary, you know.
Yeah, dude.
That shot, I don't know if I can pull it off, you know. Like,
That was intense. That was crazy because I remember shooting that. And we had to throw the blood in the car and all that
yeah,
jazz. And I
that
was
was so
like,
awesome.
ah.
That was so
I,
awesome, by the way, that you let us actually throw the blood in the car. Like,
dude,
uh,
I was so for it. And dude, the actor actually wanted like blood all over his head, dude. I was like,
and
what?
that was awesome. I know, like, these are the actors I want, man. Like, come on. I've had a lot of actors complain in high, like growing up in middle school and high school about the fake blood. You know, like I don't want it on me. But it's that's why it's so cool, like to have a openness, I guess you could say.
Oh yeah, man.
It was worth it.
It's hard. It's so crazy. Like that's another topic you talk about. It's just like working with other people and the fear of having an interaction go wrong.
Yeah.
Like that could be a real life thing. Someone could just always walk off the set. You'd never know.
That's yeah, and I've come to close calls like that before, like in high school. Like I worked with some actors who kind of just lost interest in the project, and didn't want to play the character anymore. And that can make it kind of stressful because then you're like, how do I finish the movie? I don't want to recast, you know what I mean? So
Yeah.
I remember times me and my friend would go to that friend's house and knock on the door and be like, "Hey, man," my friend was more like aggressive or assertive, I guess you could say, than me, and he would like stand up for that and be like, "Hey, you said you were gonna finish this, so let's just finish it." And so sometimes it can be an uphill battle sometimes, you know. So that's
Wow.
why
So I
it's
got there,
important.
huh?
Yeah, and it's important to pick people for that you're gonna use for the long term that you can trust, rely on, or will follow through, I guess you could say.
Exactly. And then it builds another skill set too. What would it take to be in a leadership role? And what traits do you feel will be necessary? What cards we have to pull to make sure the project completes?
Mm,
And that thus means maybe sometimes you will have uncomfortable conversations with the actors or the talent, or maybe even just like the producers. Did maybe somebody has to be recasted. There may be times where you may have to leave a project and reintroduce it again in a future time.
right.
These are things that I see actors in their late 40s have to deal with and drop like big money out of nowhere.
Wow.
When I was telling you someone dropped like $100, I see someone dropped $1,600 and they have to let go of this project because of recasting and reshooting.
That's intense. Yeah.
so like, and I was out of their own pocket, and we're talking about like grown adults here. Like I say grown adults, and we're adults, right? But
Yeah,
now I'm talking about dudes that are like in their 50s, like trying to make a film.
man, that's yeah, dude. Like that's when you know you got to really think about it, and there's so many factors that can play into it for sure. So we're on
Man,
the last 10-minute mark here.
all right, so let's do some plugs. Let's do like things that you want to talk about. Like I'm recruiting your own podcast. My but like I guess like did you want to start off things you want to say, man? And then I say the things I want to say.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, man. I think yeah, like final kind of wrapping up thoughts that come to mind is just I think just appreciation. It was so cool to talk to you about all this stuff, like just to go back into those memories, to hear a different perspective on my movie. Because to be honest with you, Plethora is my least, maybe not my least, maybe one of my least favorite movies that I've made, just because I don't know, I guess things I have to revisit it, but compared to my other works, I guess you could say. And also with crime thrillers, they're just hard to make. So I've always kind of
Yeah.
struggled with that, like how do you the pacing and different issues like that. So I'm still trying to figure that out. But I just think it's cool to hear a different perspective and kind of realize things about myself and what I do that I didn't realize before, even about my movies that I didn't realize before. So that was cool. And just wrapping it up, I would say people don't realize how hard it is to make movies. Like uh and maybe that's why I keep doing it because I just it's like the ultimate challenge. It never gets boring, it never gets old. It's always going to be constantly learning something new. Filmmaking is the single hardest thing I've ever done in my life, but also the most enjoyable thing that I've ever done. And maybe that's why, because it's new every time. And you feel like it pays off and it's so rewarding when you get to see the final product and be like, I put in all this hard work and it actually turned out, halfway decent or great. There's different levels, but yeah, it's just so cool. There's nothing else quite like it that I can think of. But but yeah, that's what I was
Oh,
saying.
dude.
Yeah, what about you? Like,
Nice. That was really nice, dude. And that's kind of cool. So that like yeah, man, anything to paint the light, like Plethora was a effort that I believe had more rewards than just being produced. The movie gave me a motivation and gave me confidence in the film career path that I'm doing now, even in passion. Like I won't. I don't think I see myself gaining that experience any other way. So I'm glad I got it out of Plethora.
yeah,
Um, yeah, man, that was amazing, and just like kind of cool to like talk to you about it too, man. A little blasted class, and just like I can finally get like some mind kind of like establish of where what you were at the time, or what you felt at the time when you were
right.
making the film.
Vice versa too, definitely. And yeah, I mean it's been how long? Maybe over 4 years since we made Plethora. I can't remember, but it's been a long
Yeah, 46 years, dude. I
that's
think
a
it's
long
somewhere
time.
around there.
Wow, yeah, maybe yeah, probably 6 years because I think was it junior year I made it? No, sophomore year probably. No, it was junior year. Yeah. Yeah, that was a long time ago. Or no, no, it was senior year. Yeah, it was senior year for me.
Wow,
Anyway,
yeah.
either way, yeah, that was a long time ago, man. It's crazy. But
Oh shoot, man. And then just things that I wouldn't say, like what makes the films to me rewarding, why film and editing, video editing is something I keep doing, is that challenge. When you say challenge and it's like you complete something, like I feel like I earned that. And it comes back to my inner motive. I wanted to communicate, and now it develops skills that I can just reproduce without effort. And know that back then I really had a lot hard time trying to do that. So
mm,
that just feels really fulfilling. And I built skills in speech patterns and different things where I could just go out of my way to just say it. No, I don't have to go out of my way saying it. It just comes out naturally. And someone looks at me and it's like, oh my God, did that just come out of your mouth? And it's like, yeah, I did. I practiced that.
yeah, and all that practice builds up and you build the skills and you look back and you compare your old work to your new work and you're just like, wow, I've come a long way since then. And that's motivating by itself too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man.
But yeah,
Uh,
yes, I mean everyone, the audience watching, feel free to click that subscribe button or like button or comment below and let us know your filmmaking experiences and what y'all have gone through. And to that, I will throw it over to you, Emilio, to kind of just tell the audience any ways to connect with you, how they can visit your content, and just different things like that.
okay. Cool. Perfect. All right. So for those of you who want to look at me and see what I'm up to, I got a YouTube channel called Broken Home Artist, on one word with the S at the end. And if you have trouble finding it on YouTube, go ahead and just click Car Crash Halloween Bash. It's a film that I made for Dallas, Texas Horror Cult. Shouldn't it should be you can find Texas Horror Cult on Facebook. You can see my film on there or on my YouTube channel. So that's what I have. I work with we referenced him, Jose Veretsin. He's my partner in crime on my YouTube channel. So you can see both of us have our antics there. We had a really fun video where I got tased in a don't chase challenge. And then have a whole bunch of other future challenges coming up. One's called the one chip Pocky uh challenge, where it's basically one chip that's inside of a coffin and you're supposed to survive one chip in a certain amount of time. On that video, I had two chips. Another challenge I'm going to be having is the Four Horsemen challenge at Chunky's Burger, where it's named the hottest burger in the world. And there's only like 10% of people who actually complete the challenge. So you can see me attempt that on my YouTube channel up and coming. Uh, Things that I do personally, as far as like professional work, my company name is called Eager Edits. You can find Eager Edits on Instagram, Twitter, and its own dedicated YouTube channel where I have my portfolio of professional work that I've done in the past, which is music videos, corporate events, quinceañeras, weddings, photos also put into a movie format, and then all my esports commentary that I have, who I work for at the time, is Texas Gaming Empire. So Eager Edits on that YouTube channel, Eager Edits on Twitter, Eager Edits on Facebook, Eager Edits on Instagram. That's where you can find my professional work, and hit me up if you're ever interested in type of editing work, things that you maybe wanted to produce yourself. I'll be that guy.
Awesome.
Uh,
All right. Well, again, appreciate you coming on here, and we look forward to having you on again on the Out of the Box podcast.
Oh, dude, awesome. And I'm looking forward to that film that you plugged in. So
Thanks.
uh yeah, man, I can't wait to see that movie you're making at this time.
Yeah, I'm hopefully it's gonna turn out good as my first horror, pure horror. So yeah, hopefully we'll find out. Until next time.